Don in London. It's March 30th. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance was alcohol. My behaviour equally addictive around people, places and things. So a hefty drinker for a long time. I don't know when I crossed the line to dependence then addiction in my drinking, but equally I could be wanting to be with the right people in the right place with the right things so that I might look right. It was all about show, I guess, or putting on a brave face and covering up my fears of inadequacy, not being good enough, fear of being found out. And truthfully, I had nothing to fear except the fear in me. And where did it come from? I have no clue. I could blame the world for my fears, but the fears were actually inside me, and it was horrible. It was debilitating and made me feel less than other people. So always striving to fit in and wondering how I was going to do that. So the brave face and the strong self-will kept me going for a long time. Self-will then became self-obsession and then deteriorated into no control over drink at all. So these days I like to be sober one day at a time. And what's helped me? Family, friends, community, people in business actually helped me a lot, trying to overcome the crushing fears inside me, and I didn't even know they were doing it. So these days, less fear, less ego, less brave facing, more courage, faith and confidence to meet what is today. And we're all faced with dilemmas, and when I have to deal with dilemmas I look to what I can and cannot do. And the reason why I can do these things these days is because I belong to a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it because it's full of unique, authentic people who speak for themselves where they choose, and they will. So the fellowship of AA has no speakers, leaders. We all share experience, strength and hope of what is going on for us, and we learn from each other, learn how to be free to make choices given our life circumstances today. So there's no quick fix to sobriety, is my experience, but when we start one day at a time, the days add up and then they become months, weeks, months and years, and we don't have to worry that we have less sobriety time than somebody else. We often hear the message we want and need, or rather the message we need, from those who are very new in recovery. So the further we go along in sobriety, we still need the experience, strength and hope of everybody who is new, or everybody who's been there for donkey's years and has seen it all. And I'm very thankful I have not seen it all, and each day seems to bring new challenges. So my videos have to stay sober. When I can't go to meetings of AA, I utilise the literature of the programme, which comes in the form of reflections like this, daily reflections, which I share here, and from As Bill Sees It, this book, and from any other book I can get my hands on if it seems appropriate, because the wisdom doesn't just come from within fellowship, of course, it comes from everybody around us, and daily life is what it's all about, and that's where the wisdom is, living in the day. So how does AA help me? Well, here is the AA preamble on a little card. I share it and I read it out. I read it out because if I recite it, which I probably could just about when not under pressure, it means I'm reciting something rather than feeling it, and if I read it out I feel it more than anything. AA is an emotional and spiritual program, one day long. That's how it works. So this is the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And whenever that is said at the beginning of a meeting of a fellowship group, of which there are 700 in London, so I'm very fortunate, and boy am I fortunate, I'm still alive. That preamble says it all. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And then our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And we all do it in our own unique, authentic ways, the best we can, with what we have. So we try our best. And sometimes it won't be good enough, and sometimes it will be far better than we ever imagined. But we don't know till we try. And the whole fellowship is about being open, honest and willing to be sober and live life. And one of the things in there, it says AA is not affiliated to anything, but each and every fellow in the fellowship, every member, is affiliated to outside causes, issues, religions or whatever, and that is as it should be, because that's what people do. They have affiliations, but we put them to one side and talk about sobriety. We may talk about everything that we're affiliated to, but we're not trying to push our ideas or understandings onto other people, except maybe the 12 steps of AA, which is a way of living life free of fear, free of having to put on a brave face, and free of ego as best we can. So we have courage, faith and confidence to live life as it is, life on life's terms and very real. So there are 12 steps, and March has been all about let go and let good things happen, or simply let go and let God, as many people are very firmly believers in God. And equally, if you're not a believer in God, that's good too. It's your choice, and it must be respected and honoured. So you don't have to take on other people's ideas or notions which you find don't work for you, or are just not your way of living. But there is another part of it, the 12 traditions, and in the fellowship the 12 traditions are part of unity, service and recovery. So we're all working to the same aim, to be sober one day at a time. And it says here for tradition 3, so let go and let God is the third step, which is March. There's 12 steps, 12 months, and also 12 traditions. So the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. That's it. No more, no less. A desire to stop drinking. It's not asking you to stop, it's not telling you to stop, it's what you choose to do for yourself. So it took me a long time to learn that that was okay. Anyway, I think the readings are a bit like that today for me. Tradition 3, a desire to stop drinking, is the only reason I went in the end, although I was completely bamboozled and befuddled when I got there. So daily reflections for March 30th. Our group conscience. Sometimes the good is the enemy of the best. The good is the enemy of the best. So trying to do good may not be the right way, but we can try to do our best and see what happens. I think these words apply to every AA's 3 legacies, every area of AA's 3 legacies: recovery, unity and service. I want them etched in my mind and life as I trudge the road of happy destiny. And that comes from AA's Big Book, page 164, which is the final chapter, chapter 11 of the first 165 pages, which is the toolkit. These words, often spoken by co-founder Bill Wilson, were appropriately said to him as the result of the group's conscience. It brought home to Bill W. the essence of our second tradition. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. So trusted servants in the framework of the fellowship means that it is the organisational bits that trusted servants take on to help run a group, help run a meeting, help run the intergroup, where we have service commitments, and then the world service, and it says service commitments, world service, trusted servants. So nobody's trying to tell the rest of the organisation or the fellowship what to do. The group conscience is where it all starts, and where it all resides in terms of determining what our fellowship is about. Just as Bill W. was originally urged to remember, I think that in our group discussions we should never settle for the good, but always strive to attain the best. These common strivings are yet another example of a loving God, or a group conscience. A group conscience means that it is the will of the group, or God's will, wisdom of the many rather than the few, as we understand him, expressing himself through the group conscience. Experiences such as these help me stay on the proper path of recovery. I learn to combine initiative with humility, responsibility with thankfulness, and thus relish the joys of living my 24-hour program. There's a lot of noise outside. I'm just going to lean over and shut one door. Or nearly fall off it. So the group conscience is the heartbeat, if you like, of change in many respects when it comes to unity, service and recovery. And then tradition 3, a desire to stop drinking. So with tradition 3 in mind, or both of them in mind, the group conscience is about ensuring sobriety and that people can get onto a program which is one day long. Because if we ask an alcoholic to make it more than that, they make a promise they can't keep. Who can promise that they won't try or strive to do their best for more than one day without resorting to overly elaborate processes of self-will? And what we know as an alcoholic, self-will is not the answer. The answer is to strive and do the best we can. As Bill sees it, this book, In God's Economy, it sort of fits with what I've just said. In God's economy, nothing is wasted. Through failure, we learn a lesson in humility, which is probably needed, and though painful it is. So God's economy is just nature, providence, and as the world works today. For me, it's the whole thing. And we don't control it, but we can certainly influence and make choices on a 24-hour basis to the best of our ability. And sometimes it is extraordinarily painful. Talk to anybody who's been a newcomer in the first 90 days of recovery, and it is an extraordinarily painful process of understanding just what it is, just where we've got to, and what we need to do to keep sober. We do not always come closer to wisdom by reason of our virtues, that is, courage, faith and confidence. Our better understanding is often rooted in the pains of our former follies, fear, putting on a brave face, and ego. This is me talking about me, not anybody else. Because this has been the essence of our individual experience, it is also the essence of our experience as a fellowship. So, God's economy, the group conscience, whatever it is, it's about dealing with reality as reality is. And nobody can live in isolation. So fellowship is about interdependence around unity, service and recovery. I'm not telling people what to do. It's about the group conscience saying this is the best we can do right now. And it's not being idealistic either, or saying, when we get to this point we're going to be okay. We need to say we're okay now, and we're going to do the best we can. Now that is a big change, because it means we're not setting ourselves up for failure. We're setting ourselves up to make the best of what we can do, striving to be the best we can. But it's not overly striving to get to an ideal or an idea of utopia. The actual reality is there is no such thing as utopia, and it's not perfection. It doesn't exist. Well, in my opinion, this is just me speaking now, because I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for anybody else in fellowship, and that's the beauty of the program. Nobody speaks on behalf of anybody else. Hence the caution always around anonymity. But you see, for me, truth wins as the spiritual foundation of my life, and anonymity has served me no great purpose in my life other than for me to keep secrets. And I only found out how to make use of truth, to find the truth of me, under the umbrella of anonymity, which is 11 months ahead in the traditions. November, well, it's not 11 months, it's a few months ahead. Tradition 11, very important, and is always a contention for me, and always becomes contentious for other people too. For me, the spiritual principles are truth, love and wisdom. The truth I find, not the truth I get from my own personal opinion. So truth is always something I'm looking for in life, the truth of now. Love is about how to love people, how to be loved back, and we only learn that as we walk on our trudging road of destiny. And wisdom is always coming from other sources. Wisdom of life, from the man on the bus, from the bus driver, from the person I talk to at the checkout in a market. I learn a lot. I was talking about things I could do and I couldn't do one day to a cash till operator in one of my local markets, and they said, yes, that's the Serenity Prayer. And she said, so where do you hear those things? And I said, well, not in a church. And she said, I hear it in church all the time. And I respect exactly what she's talking about. And she knew exactly where I was coming from in recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. We learn to be level at all costs, because we can easily think we know better than other people, and we don't. And I love tradition 1 of our fellowship too, which says, you know, unity comes first, but if you're trying to tell another AA what to do, you can't do it. So all these traditions seem to be checks and balances on what is possible and what is not possible, and we find our path on a one-day basis. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. You can't have it both ways, they say, but actually we find a path which works for us as individuals under the umbrella of unity, service and recovery. What a wonderful thing that is. We don't always get on, we argue, but we don't necessarily fight and hurt each other. We just argue because we're learning how to live and make a point, and that's where it is in group consciences. We can feel hurt, but that's okay. Pain is the touchstone of spiritual progress, some say, and spiritual for me is the ability to cope with now, and that was said by an Archbishop of Canterbury some years ago when asked. So, to your God, or may your God go with you on this, or whatever it is you believe in as a higher power, I just think feel I'm surrounded by higher powers when it comes to wisdom. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today. Substance, alcohol, could have been anything else. Didn't get round to hard drugs unless they were prescription ones, and sometimes I need those now, as a doctor tells me. And yeah, alcohol, the substance, behaviour, well, work, relationships, anything, people, places, things, collecting, wanting to be perfect, never so, striving to make sure you didn't find me out, striving to feel okay, striving and striving. But that's okay, striving's okay as long as it's in proportion and in balance to a day. So as long as we don't set ourselves impossible tasks, then we've probably got a chance at keeping our sobriety. So one day at a time, sobriety seems to work for me, and it took a long time. First of all, to find the conviviality had gone away from my substance taking. Taking a drink to take the edge off became taking a drink because I needed one. I became dependent to fix myself, and as I fixed, I became even more dependent, and that turned into addiction. It's a natural progression, I feel, for most people. So whatever the substance is, or whatever the behaviour is, we can find ourselves addicted, trying to fix ourselves on a daily basis, or hourly, depending on where it's got to. And for me it was 24/7 drinking. And it didn't work in the end. Alcohol stopped working. and everything else stopped working, and it was a very, very low rock bottom for me. And it wasn't the hospital visits, it wasn't the intensive care, it wasn't anything in particular which gave me a moment of clarity, except one thing. I kept waking up, and I woke up one morning and thought, it cannot get any worse, so what can I do? And I'd run out of my own ideas, and I thought, well, I need help. And that was the moment of clarity, the spiritual connection to other people. I needed help from other people who had a clue how to get sober. So professionals were part of my story, rehab was part of my story, although it didn't work quite as it might. It still helped in a very strange way, probably delayed the inevitable sobriety. But I'm sober one day at a time. And there is one other element which is of primary importance, and that's the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I share about AA here because it's part of my story. I don't speak for it, never can, never will. Full of unique, authentic people with one similarity, a desire to stop drinking and then share a message of experience, strength and hope. And that's what these videos are about. If you can't get to a meeting or you want more information, this is just me. And there are plenty of other websites and people out there, lots of people out there sharing experience, strength and hope of how to get sober. So I'm just one message of many. And that's good, because I don't want to be a guru or somebody who can be said to be, he's an authority. I'm not. I'm just an authority on my sobriety, just for today, and then I have to learn it all again. But there are some tools in the toolkit of the AA Fellowship which keep me going along smoothly, or not smoothly, as life experience offers. So what is AA? On this little card is the AA preamble, and inside it has the backbone, if you like, the 12 steps of AA and 12 traditions of AA. And in the literature I share here, this book, Daily Reflections, it covers one of the 12 steps each month, and March is step 3, all about letting go and letting good things happen, or letting God help us. And for me, God is very simple, as an understanding, truth, love, and works through people. And that's very understandable for me. So it's the universal truth of now, not just my version or my, I suppose, interpretation of truth. So truth, universal, love, and works through people. That's where I get my wisdom, experience, not only from myself but other people. So AA, the AA preamble, what's it all about? Here we go. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, or people with just a desire not to drink. And it's been a busy morning so far. Up early, checking my medical information, which I keep, because it's not only recovery from alcoholism which I need to be concerned with. I have type 1 diabetes and clinical depression as well, and it was necessary to go for a review with my general practitioner or MD, medical doctor, to fill in some forms and do some administration regarding people knowing what's going on for me. I'm fully self-supporting, but at the same time I still need to share information with the relevant government agencies who may offer help, if there is any help to be offered, like help getting around from time to time, which is becoming a real issue with type 1 diabetes and what's happening with it. So the gift of being sober is I'm able to engage in life as it is today, and there is nothing more, I suppose, enlightening than having to go and do a review of everything that is going on for me and how it impacts on daily life. And do I like doing it? No, I don't like doing it, because I'd rather cover it up and pretend everything's all right. But what I know is the fellowship has taught me to be open, honest and willing to share the truth of now with those who need to know. So for me it is imperative that people know I am type 1 diabetic, and I do suffer from clinical depression too. It explains when I look a bit peculiar, because the symptoms of a low sugar level, hyperglycemia, is going unconscious and looking drunk. And of course, how many years? It's a few years now, I haven't had a drink. So if people think, oh, he's drunk and he's lying down because he's feeling a bit tired, it's not true. I'm actually having a hypo, which is extraordinarily dangerous if not treated. So I need to be careful, and I usually wear a chain which says, "Help me, I'm a diabetic," if you see me unconscious. But you know, sharing this all the time with medical people, it gets repetitive, and even now I find it difficult, but that's just me. Oh, what it is to be human. Anyway, daily reflections for today, all about letting go and letting good things happen. Let go and let God. It says here for March 30th, our group conscience. And this is really to do with unity, service and recovery, but it's about our personal conduct too. Sometimes the good is the enemy of the best. I think these words apply to every area of AA's 3 legacies: recovery, unity and service. Recovery, unity and service is something we all do. We give it away to keep it. I want them etched in my mind, and life as I trudge the road of happy destiny. These words, often spoken by co-founder Bill W., were appropriately said to him as the result of the group's conscience. That is, the group that we might belong to makes a decision based on everybody's input. God works through people, not one person. It brought home to Bill W. the essence of the second tradition: our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. Just as Bill W. was originally urged to remember, I think that in our group discussions we should never settle for the good, but always strive to attain the best. These common strivings are yet another example of a loving God working through people, as we understand him, expressing himself through the group conscience. Experiences such as these help me to stay on the proper path of recovery. I learn to combine initiative with humility, responsibility with thankfulness, and thus relish the joys of living my 24-hour program. And the absolute gift is, sometimes we do get joy, but we do also get sadness, which is part of life. So what helps me is that serenity prayer to God of good conscience. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today. Always. My addictive substance, alcohol, for many years. My behaviour, trying to be perfect, far too often. Trying to be something I maybe wasn't, or maybe I was just trying to be. I guess I was trying to be whatever else other people thought I ought to be. And it took me a long time to learn that part of my problem was always fear. Fear sort of sat behind me all the time, pushing me on to be as perfect as possible, because that's what I thought people wanted me to be. And somehow, I don't know how it happened, I fell into addiction. Well, I do know it happened actually. Fear was ruling my life, and drink took the edge off. Took the edge off me completely, so it made me acquiesce, that is, kowtow to other things, people, places and things, and just get on with part of everything, but not actually knowing who I was. And the great gift for me in recovery is I'm just finding out who I am on a daily basis, and making some gentle choices in the day to do what is right for me, and no longer bother about drinking or other addictive behaviours. And what makes it possible really is going to fellowship, the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it, never will, but it saved my life, and I can share my experience, strength and hope here on how it does it. And yesterday, for the first time in many months, I didn't go to a meeting. I actually went out for lunch, or went to lunch with family members, and had a good time. And I've been recovering from a cold and a chesty cough, so I took the opportunity just to rest. And the trouble is, in recovery, we don't like resting too long. we want to get on and see what the day has on offer, and to be a part of life again. So the great benefit to me is always around inclusion, being included in the world, to whatever level or understanding I can make of it. And it's not conditional on fitting into a pattern or conforming to a pattern which somebody else lays down. It's just being part of family, community, society, civilization, the world as we know it, and seeing the world as it is, and in reality, with less denials and less filters. So I suppose the gift is for me in recovery, there are less denials in me about my life and my situation, and less filters getting in the way, namely alcohol or other behaviours which take the edge off the reality of now. And actually, the Fellowship of AA has helped me greatly in so many ways, I don't know where to start. So it's a very complicated picture, but the simple answer is don't drink one day at a time, or don't indulge in the addictive behaviour one day at a time. So to help me, I go to the fellowship meetings of AA, and at the beginning of every AA meeting this preamble is shared, and it helps me slow myself down into the moment of now, so I can listen to other people and then share as well based on what I hear and what may be done. So the preamble of AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I guess, that last line, if you like, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, is key for me. And whilst I might not have gone to a meeting yesterday, I did do my video, and I had an email from somebody who is part of the orangepapers.org, and from what I can see, I need to actually sit down and read it again, but the problem is it quoted lots of statistics about what sort of people, what happens to people who've gone to AA, and the statistics are slanted to suggest that AA does more harm than good. And I can forget and get embroiled in a circular argument, if I'm not careful, that AA is doing more harm than good. And I can only speak from my own experience, which is doing me good and less harm. And I have the opportunity to make choices today in terms of my spiritual beliefs, my emotional stability and my physical well-being. So those three things are the ones which I judge my sobriety on, and what I suppose judge the efficacy of AA. And much of what is said in these orange papers is to suggest that the vast proportion of people who go to AA are going to find difficulties and more self-harm because of it. Now the problem is, as I know, most people who get to AA are already very severely damaged people, and that includes me too. So I was severely damaged. I didn't want to live anymore, and quite frankly, if it hadn't been for AA, I would have been dead. So when we take that into account, when we look at these statistics, which are, at best, there is a definition, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, which is often quoted. The statistics can be worked to suit a purpose. But if we actually say, what is the baseline of people coming into either a fellowship to do with addiction or behaviour, where are they? They're already suicidal. They're in their last chance saloon, their last resort. So when we take that population of people and then ask ourselves how many people keep on coming back and make it, I don't know, simply because there are no reliable statistics, and that's nobody's fault. But if it's to suggest that statistics are the answer to whether something is reaching a performance target that is in the mind of another person, I don't know that we'll ever get to the truth of it. So where am I in that balance? Well, the balance for me is I'm sober today. I don't want to change anybody's opinion about anything, and whatever works for another person, I wouldn't want to meddle or undermine it. So if orangepapers.org keeps a person sober, and in control, if that's what they want from their lives. That is perfectly fine by me. I shall just keep on going and be a part of a fellowship which saves my life on a daily basis. So I've gone on a bit actually, and it's all about step 3 in March. Step 3 of the 12-step action program, and this little daily reflections book gives us a page a day, and I'd just like to read it just to cheer myself up after that little diatribe. And it says, "No one denied me love. On the AA calendar," oh, I'm going too far, that's for tomorrow. March 30th, our group conscience. "Sometimes the good is the enemy of the best," and comes from AA Comes of Age, page 101. I think these words apply to every area of AA's 3 legacies: recovery, unity and service. I want them etched in my mind and life as I trudge the road of happy destiny. These words, often spoken by co-founder Bill W., were appropriately said to him as the result of the group's conscience. It brought home to Bill W. the essence of our second tradition: our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. Just as Bill W. was originally urged to remember, I think that in our group discussions we should never settle for the good, but always strive to attain the best. These common strivings are yet another example of a loving God, as we understand him, expressing himself through the group conscience. Experiences such as these help me stay on the proper path of recovery. I learn to combine initiative with humility, responsibility with thankfulness, and thus relish the joys of living my 24-hour program. And you know, the most important thing about fellowship and recovery is to be included in a body of people who just want to stay sober. And the reason why it always talks about experience, strength and hope. It's the experience of living sober, the strength of living sober, and the hope to live sober. It's all about action. Action to keep ourselves in the world and included in family, society, community, whatever way you want to look at it. If we try and make it ours again, take control of our lives to the detriment of other people, well, we know where we go. We go into isolation, exclusion, and end up not being in control of anything except the desire to drink and drink and drink. So for me these days, I've quit the debates in many ways about what is AA, statistics. They don't help me. What helps me is reality, dealing with the reality of now. And when I say, God, grant me the serenity, it doesn't mean it's all going to be jolly japes and fun. It means that we take life on life's terms, up and down. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just making choices one day at a time.